You're listening to KCTY, The City, Long Beach City College.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson arrived in Mexico City today for 2 days of meetings with the country's top officials there, including the Mexican president. As NPR's Carrie Kahn reports, Tillerson's visit comes at a particularly tense time in U.S.-Mexico relations.
Mexican officials were hoping Tillerson's visit would help smooth over months of tension due to tweets and threats by President Trump on everything from trade, possible export tariffs, and a border wall. But the Secretary of State arrives just 1 day after the Trump administration released new guidelines on immigration enforcement, which among many provisions calls on Mexico to accept deported nationals from countries other than Mexico. Mexico's foreign relations minister said there was no way this was going to happen because, quote, we don't have to and it's not in the interest of Mexico. Luis Videgaray also added, Mexico will not accept unilateral decisions imposed by one government on another. Carrie Kahn, NPR News, Mexico City.
Or tonight, the White House is pushing back the release of a new executive action on a temporary travel ban to the U.S. The White House now says it's likely to be next week before the new directive is issued. The administration's temporary travel ban affecting citizens from 7 mostly Muslim countries was suspended by a San Francisco-based appeals court. The order led to confusion and generated nationwide protests. Astronomers have found a nearby star is being circled by 7 Earth-sized planets. NPR's Noel Greenfield-Boyce reports this sets the record for the most Earth-sized planets around a single star.
The star is about 40 light-years away in the constellation Aquarius, and the 7 planets orbit close in, closer than Mercury orbits our sun. But astronomer Julianne DeWitt of MIT says this star is much smaller and cooler than our sun, so these probably rocky planets should have relatively mild temperatures.
And so can harbor potentially liquid water at the surface.
Liquid water, of course, means a planet might have conditions right for life. The new planets are described in the journal Nature. Researchers have already started doing follow-up observations to see what kind of atmospheres these planets might have. Nell Greenfield-Boyce, NPR News.
And now it's time for your Viking Athletics Week in Review. Long Beach City College Athletics had a number of clutch wins this past week, highlighted by the women's basketball team earning 2 crucial conference victories to keep their conference title hopes intact. After rallying off 8 straight conference victories, the Long Beach City College women's basketball team has been crowned the SCC South Co-Conference champions with a 62-49 win over the EC Compton Center Tartars on Friday night. Long Beach traveled down a challenging road to reach the title by playing with minimal weapons throughout the majority of the season, sometimes not being able to finish a game with 5 athletes on the court. Overcoming intense adversity was a huge factor in this season's championship run. And now on to baseball. The number 15 Vikings were haunted by the rain and were forced to postpone 2 home contests this past week. The Long Beach City College baseball team was unstoppable on Thursday evening as they faced off against San Diego City College Knights on Joe Hicks Memorial Field. The Vikings saw 11 different players record a hit, 10 players score at least 1 run, and 7 players record 1 or more RBIs in an 18-6 tromping over San Diego City. The bats will be swinging again today at 2 p.m. versus Orange Coast. A rescheduled rain delay game will be played against West LA tomorrow at 2. And then there's Saturday's road game at Southwestern, which starts at 12. And Tuesday afternoon, they have a match all the way in Barstow, so if you can, get out there and cheer them on. In women's softball, rain delays also plagued the Lady Vikings. Softball had a rough week going 1-2, but started off the week with a 2-1 victory over Santa Ana. With a 6-4 record overall, Viking softball looks to hold on to their number 2 spot with games coming today at 3 p.m. versus Rio Hondo, Saturday's doubleheader at Grossmont, and an away game next Tuesday at East Los Angeles. The number 4 LBCC men's Vikings volleyball team experienced some tough sledding against the number 2 Orange Coast College Pirates at home, being defeated in 3 sets. Next up for the Viking Aces are tomorrow's match at Pierce, and next Tuesday's home game against Antelope Valley. Both games start at 6 p.m. The Vikings kicked off their campaign in track and field with the SEC opening meet this past Friday, with numerous athletes performing very well. The freshmen led the way with wins in both the men's and women's 100-meter dash, men's 110 hurdles, both the men's and women's 300-meter low hurdles, and finally, first place in the women's shot put and women's discus. The Vikings jumpers and dashers will be at the Cerritos opener at Cerritos College tomorrow and Saturday. The second meet of the Vikings swimming and diving season was curiously also canceled due to rain last week. This weekend, the Vikings men and women will be at the Mount Sac Invitational at Mount San Antonio College. And that's it for your Vikings Athletic Week in Review. For more news on all your favorite LBCC sports teams, just go to lbccvikings.com.
You're listening to KCTY The City, Long Beach City College.